Get there? I think we got there. Okay, so Shrapnel Blast. At them. Sacrificing the 4/4. We hit them for 5 damage. And we close them out. Hello my fiery friends, the Infernoman here with the latest in budget deck technology. And for today's deck tech, we're going to be going into the Explorer format to take advantage of some very unique burn spells that are completely now available in the Explorer format. Thanks to the Anthology set, we actually now got one of my favorite cards, Shrapnel Blast. We'll talk about this card in a little bit, but what makes that card wholly unique is also we have Pia Nalaar, Console of Revival. So the general idea that you're seeing right now is going to be to make a bunch of little artifact creatures, dish out some damage, and finish off our opponent by sacrificing them to do major burn damage to face. This is Burning Metal. But as always, let's go over the stats of the deck real quick for us. So in the Explorer format, we're going to be utilizing a Boros set of colors of white and red. We are having an average mana curve of about 1.9. We have 10 creatures in the deck, which is a little low, but you're going to see how we're going to build up our army in a bit. We have 10 instants, 8 sorceries, 16 artifacts, 4 enchantments, and a total of 20 lands on a budget. So as I mentioned earlier in the video, we're basically going to try to make as many Thopters as we can to chip in as much damage as possible and finish off our opponent with some massive burn damage. So how are we going to get there?
Good question.
Well, now let's go in depth about two of the main stars in the deck. So we're going to start with, of course, Pia Nalaar, Console of Revival. This legendary human artificer 2/3 says Thopters you control have haste. Whenever you play a land from exile or cast a spell from exile, create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying. So, as the card reads, basically we're going to try to do a bunch of card advantage by exiling cards from the top of our library. We can cast those cards to create a bunch of little Thopters that have haste and can then chip in as much damage as possible. Of course, in order to do that, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to look at 2 major burn spells to get us to victory. I mentioned earlier, though, again, that Shrapnel Blast, where it's this instant for 2 mana that says, as an additional cost to cast the spell, you sacrifice an artifact. Shrapnel Blast deals 5 damage to any target, which is awesome for us. So I'm really happy about this card. Does massive damage. Usually a couple of these will just close out the game very quickly if our opponent is not paying attention. And of course, the other card that we're going to use, it's not as strong, but it's still very helpful for us and very powerful in Explorer. Heartfire is an instant with 2 mana that says, as an additional cost to cast a spell, sacrifice a creature or planeswalker. Heartfire deals 4 damage to any target. But otherwise, that's basically the game plan for you. We're going to need a bunch of support in order to ensure this game plan gets off. So let's talk about, of course, our card advantage in a way that's basically going to be the form of exiling cards to the top of our library. We're going to start off with utilizing Light Up the Stage. Ideally, you want to cast this for the spectacle cost of only 1 mana to make it as efficient as possible. We also have copies of Reckless Impulse, which kind of does the same thing as Light Up the Stage, but for only 2 mana. We also will have Experimental Synthesizer. This card's a little bit more trickier to use, but it's still very effective at 1 mana, or it does the same thing where we can exile cards. However, we only get 1 turn to utilize them versus, say, the Reckless Impulse or the Light Up the Stage. Both these cards do the same thing where it's until the end of your next turn, whereas Experimental Synthesizer, you kind of have to do it right on the spot or else you lose the card. Not a big deal for us either way, since we basically have in the deck 12 different ways we can exile cards and take advantage of Pia Nalaar's ability. Of course, to also help close the gap with this, we're definitely going to need a little bit more support than even this. So we of course have Ornithopters, the catch-all. It's free and also just helps trigger off another one of our cards, which I'll mention in a second. We also have a little bit of removal and Portable Hole in the main deck just to make sure we get some of our early game threats out of the way so we could keep doing that damage. And we have a couple of copies of another card that I'm a big fan of, Reckless Fireweaver. So of course you've seen me try to utilize this a couple of times. Basically it'll ping our opponent whenever an artifact enters the battlefield under our control, and we definitely have a lot of little artifacts that will stack up very quickly. To generate a little bit more advantage for us, we also have Yotia Declares War. This allows us to create yet another Ornithopter that we can utilize to either sacrifice to a Shrapnel Blast, or we can then utilize it for a couple other things, which I'll show you in just a moment. With this also, this helps us create also a 4/4 at the end of the saga itself, which can also help close out the game. Of course, if we go wide enough, we also have yet another way of getting to victory, and you can probably see it already here. We have Plated Onslaught. This is a highly underrated card, but it's perfect in our deck. So this 5 mana card is an instant that says creatures you control get +2/+1 until end of turn. However, as you can also see, it has affinity for artifacts. To be specific with that, remember that when you have affinity on something, it says a spell with affinity for artifacts will cost 1 less generic mana for each artifact controlled. So even if we have just 3 artifacts, this is basically a 2-mana pump spell, which can be very easily help close out the game for us on the spot. So that's basically the whole game plan for you. We can either go super wide and just do some massive damage, or we can just slowly ping our opponent away. Then when they're about to try to remove our stuff, we sacrifice them to a shrapnel blast or a heartfire to hopefully get to victory. With our land base, we're going to utilize 3 plains, 7 mountains, we have 2 Inspiring Vantage, Sacred Foundries, and a bunch more Darksteel Citadels as artifacts, which can trigger off, of course, the Reckless Fireweaver. It's not really anything special, but again, remember, we are a budget deck. As far as the sideboard is concerned, it's going to be a little bit of a hodgepodge depending on what your opponent is doing in the best of 3. So we have a copy of a Johnny's Welcome, which can help stabilize us with some life gain because we make a ton of little Thopters. If we need more removal, we have Glass Casket just to get rid of stuff with a mana value of 3 or less. Rip Apart is going to be mostly just to get rid of your artifacts and enchantments out there, but it also can do some good spot removal in a pinch. Tormod's Crypt is free, and it just helps us with our Graveyard Hate. Michigo's Reign of Truth, if you don't have the ability to then take advantage of, say, a go-wide strategy, use Michigo's Reign of Truth, creates another creature for us, and also gets a really nice pump out of our deck. We also have Chief of the Foundry in case of you need to go a little bit slower, but also creates for us more consistency with pumping our artifact creatures. And finally, a single extra copy of Plated Onslaught if we just need to be a little bit more faster and more aggro. So without further ado, let's go ahead, let's take this deck into a couple matches and explore. How do you think it's going to do? Well, there's only one way to find out, so let's go ahead, begin playing, and see how well it does. But before we continue, if you do like any of the content that I do, please like, follow, and subscribe wherever you watch the content so you don't miss out on any of the gameplay, booster pack openings, deck decks, and so much more. Okay, my fire friends, here we go. We are playing our Boros Burning Metal deck here in Explorer, and well, we do have a lot of ways of exiling and using stuff. I think we can actually make this work. 2 Pia Nalaars at least gives us a little bit of insurance. Okay, so with that, we will play Sacred Foundry tapped. On it goes. Okay, so as long as our opponent isn't trying to play anything too dirty here, we could actually pull off a victory here. So with that, Inspiring Vantage, Pia Nalaar. Okay, so how do we sequence this? So I think we get those experimental synthesizers down. Hopefully we draw into something that we can just cast immediately. Okay, I think Greasefang. It's probably Greasefang. Okay, so with that, we will experimental synthesizer. Okay, so with that, we can play Portable Hole, take a Thopter, take out Raphine's Informant, play a land, go swinging here, down to 16. Alright, opponent, so let's look at their library. They don't really have anything yet, so they're just going to just set themselves up. That does buy us a little bit of time, of course, but is it going to be enough? Mana Confluence, okay. So, let's see. If our opponent has a Greasefang, I want to make sure we have a Shrapnel Blast ready to go. This is kind of awkward. Okay. I think we're just going to have to swing here. And just going to have to hold back. Just for a little bit. Grizzly Salvage. Okay. Well, that does give us a little bit more time to work with here. Okay, they throw away their stuff. Alright, another land. Raphine's Informant. Alright, they do some of their digging. Do we just Shrapnel Blast here? I don't know if we should do it yet. It's a little tricky. Opponent throws away their stuff. So, let's see. Reckless Impulse. Okay. We will Reckless Impulse. Do some exiling. Okay, well, that's not too shabby. Make another Thopter. Take out the Raphine's Informant. Still swinging here. Okay, we're in striking distance now, everybody. Okay. Make another Thopter. Do some more of our shenanigans. Okay, we're finally going off here, which is actually great. And we pass here. Okay, if we at least get another burn spell, we actually can close it out on next turn. We technically have lethal already with a Shrapnel Blast, but I'm expecting our opponent to cast their stuff here. Witherbloom Command. That's actually fine. I don't mind that. So they get back the Raphine's Informant, which is actually perfectly fine with us. Okay. Here's the Greasefang coming down right now. Here it comes, everybody. Alright. Well, obviously they bring back their Parhelion. No surprise there, obviously. But we'll just let them just do their swinging here. No blocks. We go down to 7, but we are almost there. Okay, so I think Yotia declares war. Make a Thopter. Number 3 here. We will then turn one of our Thopters into a 4/4 mountain. We just go swinging here and see what they block. Did we get there? I think we got there. Okay, so Shrapnel Blast. At them. Sacrificing the 4/4. We hit them for 5 damage. And we close them out. We beat Greasefang, everybody. Nice. Oh man, that was so good. That's how you do the deck, everybody. Okay, my fire friends, here we go. We're playing Ouroboros Burning Metal deck here at Explorer. And, okay, well, we do have 2 Pias, so we have an extra one just in case things go bad, but we need a way to just start exiling and drawing into action. Hopefully we can get that with his hand. We have some early game removal, which is nice. Okay, well, we got a Shrapnel Blast. That's actually sweet. So, Mountain first. Consider... Okay, what is our opponent trying to play? Hold on. This is a hint here. Spell Pierce. Okay. Are they some kind of Simic Turbo Fog? Or are they something else entirely? I guess we'll find out. Inspiring Advantage. But we came here to make Thopters, so we gotta put down Pia now, even if they counterspell. Which was extremely predictable. That's okay. Okay, another land. Nothing from our opponent. Alright. Mountain again. Pia Nalaar. Number 2. Can we get this down? Consider. Did they find a counterspell? They did. Oh boy. Well, this is going to be a little frustrating for all of us, as our opponent just keeps trying to draw into stuff, but we're going to still try to find a way to get there, everybody. Forest. Growth Spiral again. Alright, well, they're top down, so we're going to hopefully try to draw into something here. We have to find something. First thing. Wow, you really have that many lands again? Good lord. Okay, so, light up the stage. Please let this resolve. Okay, we got it to resolve. Okay, well, that's kind of awkward. We got 2 light up the stage in the back here. Yikes. Okay. Okay, well, our Fairy Mastermind doesn't hurt us that much, because we do a lot of drawing via exiling. What's neat is... Okay, so here's how we do this, everybody. Portable Hole. We get rid of that Fairy Mastermind. They draw some cards. Do they have... Oh, okay, they still do. They're still drawing cards. Really annoying, but it's still, we're fine. We at least get rid of their Fairy Mastermind, which is what we wanted. Do they have another counterspell, though? Okay, well, it did resolve, which is nice for us. Mountain. Unfortunately, we did lose a lot of card draw right there, but that's okay. We're going to find a way to get around this, everybody. I believe in us. Okay, Experimental Synthesizer is not too shabby. Submit nothing. Experimental Synthesizer. Exile a card. Okay, it's a land. Comes in tap now, but that's okay. We have what we need now. We just need to get Pia out, and we can just start doing our thing. Even if our opponent here is trying to be all flat... Oh, okay, it's a flash deck. Wow, I haven't seen one of those in a while. That's okay, actually. We still have a way of getting through this. Okay, so with that... Give up our Experimental Synthesizer to take out that Night Pack Ambusher. We can't afford to have that on the field. Wait, is their last card a... Are you serious? They really had that in hand. Really? Okay, okay. I'm not mad at everybody. That's fine. Damage here. Okay, made a wolf. Okay, so with that, we will turn our little Ornithopter into a 4/4. Portable Hole. Take out Brineborn Cutthroat. Portable Hole again. Take out their wolf. Down to 14. Reckless Impulse. Okay, there's Pia. Well, that's good for next turn. That's awesome. And a Shrapnel Blast here is actually not too shabby. We still have a way of getting around this, everybody. I believe in us. They make a wolf. Okay. Pia Nalaar. Come on, deck. They really can't have another counterspell beyond this. Ornithopter for free. Shrapnel Blast. We sacrifice our empty portable hole. Make a Thopter. Wow. Can't believe that. No attacks. Okay. Well, maybe we should have actually done that before they did their card draw. Okay. Well, I guess I might be paying for it now. Okay. It's fine, everybody. We block here. Down to 3. We make another token. Reckless Fireweaver. Not too shabby. It still provides us, at least for us, a way to get around things. We just need to hopefully stabilize here. Memory Deluge. Okay. Does our opponent find action here? Okay. I really think we punted right there by not killing the Night Pack Ambusher during when that Memory Deluge was on the stack. Hopefully that doesn't kill us right now, but that's okay. If they have another wolf, we're going to be screwed right here really hard. Decisive Denial. Okay. Oh, jeez. Okay. This throws us off a little bit here, but okay. Plated Onslaught. They lose a wolf. Unfortunately, though, we just lost our defense maneuver there. Oh, man, we had to keep sacrificing Thopters to this. Wow. I think we really messed it up here. We kind of screwed this completely. Okay. Block here. Block here. Still alive. Not dead yet, everybody. But I don't know how much longer we have. Okay. Ornithopter. I think that might be game here. Hang him down to 13. Okay. Well, I think that's it, everybody. We're done. I think I completely punted that match. So, it is what it is, though. Okay, my fire friends, here we go. We are playing our Burning Metal deck here in the Explorer format. And, okay, well, we do have some early game removal, and we definitely have Pia, so I think we can keep this. Alright, so with that, we will play Sacred Foundry first tapped, and we pass. Okay, opponent, what are you trying to play? Green. Okay, they didn't cast anything. Interesting. So with that, we'll just do the Inspiring Vantage. Pia Nalaar. And do we just put the Ornithopter out there now? We'll hold on to that. Another green source. So is it mono green devotion, I'm guessing? It is. Absolutely disgusting, but that's okay, everybody. So here's how we do this. We go swinging here with Pia. We light up the stage for spectacle cost. Okay, well, we didn't really get anything there. Okay, that's fine. Light up stage number 2. We get at least one Thopter. We'll put out the other Ornithopter now. Okay, so we're making a little progress here. We do have some stuff at least set up here. Fiora. Alright, well, here we go. This is where they start getting a little wacky here. Okay. Well, thankfully we hit a land. So, first off, let's make sure we can do this. So, Experimental Synthesizing. Make another Thopter. We exile. Reckless Impulse. Okay. How do we do this? Okay. Mountain down. Reckless Impulse again. Make another Thopter. Draw some more. Okay. Go all swinging here. Well, we're down to 13, which is actually nice for us. We just need at least a burn spell or 2, and we actually can win right here. Cavalier of Thorns. That has reach too. Absolutely disgusting. That's very annoying for us to get through, but that's okay, everybody. We're still gonna find a way through. Alright, so how do we get around this? Okay, so I think the OT other players more. Make another Thopter. How do we go around this? I think... Oh wait, I forgot. Number 2. Okay. So with that, we tap 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Took all of our Thopters to get around this. That's okay. We get rid of the Cavalier Thorns. That's out of the way at least. That's nice for us. They put one back, which is fine because we just need to boost up the rest of our Thopters. So, Ornithopter. Portable Hole. No real value, but we do get to at least make one We get to make one Thopter, and we actually got rid of their Wolf Willow Haven, which is actually kind of nice. So, swing here. Down to 10. Well, we're making progress. Do they play the Cavalier of Thorns again? Old Growth Troll. Okay. Well, that doesn't have reach. That actually is really good for us. Gem Razor. Oh, wow. Okay. Well, that does unfortunately destroy one of our artifacts, but that's actually okay. We have plenty of artifacts. Will they get rid of the Yotia Declares War or the Portable Hole? Okay, they got rid of Yotia Declares War. That's okay. This is fine. Okay, so with that, Experimental Synthesizer. Exile a card. Okay, Reckless Fireweaver's not bad. We could still do some Light Burn. Ornithopter. Dang. Okay, so, do we swing here? I guess we're going to have to. Okay, so, we lose a Thopter, but that's actually not bad. They're down to 4. So they need to survive the next turn or we win. Great Hinge. Oh boy, I hate this card right now. But that's okay. I don't think that's enough to beat them. Okay. They're going to make a lot of mana here. Cavalier of Thorns coming down again. Yikes. They're up to 8 again. But our opponent has to dig really deep here if they want to beat us. Okay, Darksteel Citadel. Not too shabby, actually, right now. That does ping. Down to 7. Reckless Impulse. Ooh, okay. I think we might have gotten there. Did we get there with this? Ping again. We will drop at 2. We have to tap here some stuff. Okay, so with that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Tap those. Take out Cavalier of Thorns. They do their thing. We then go here. Wait, did we win right here? I think we win right here. Just go swinging. Oh my gosh, we got there. Wow, we got Xaxes there. Yes, we got there. I couldn't do the math for a second there, everybody. Sorry. Math is kind of hard. But yeah, we got there. There you go. That's the deck. And there you have it, everybody. So how do you feel about this deck overall? Tell me in the comments below. What do you think? Are you a fan of this at all? From what you saw in the gameplay footage, it was okay. I did some of its stuff. You saw one of our losses. It kind of fizzled a little bit, but I'm still satisfied with what we were able to do. We can actually pivot from slow burn also to explosively powerful burn on a dime if we really, really need to. I was a little disappointed with some of our cards. Reckless Fireweaver, as much as I love the card, it's still a little slow when a deck like this kind of goes off. You probably want to be a little bit more aggro, so I have to kind of play with it a bit more. Still, I'm overall still happy with what we did. So with that, for those of you that are still watching at this point, shout out to you, my fiery friends that are still watching right now. Leave a comment below if you're still watching at this point in the video, and I'll show you right now how we can make this deck much more consistent, much more powerful if you're willing to invest in it, and make it super duper awesome. Now, if you are interested, of course, in some upgrades, as always, I'm more than happy to oblige with that by showing you some really cool things you can do with the deck. First off, as always, to no surprise of anybody, definitely upgrade the mana base. You actually don't have to upgrade it too much in this deck, but there are going to be a couple of things I would recommend. Get in copies of Inventor's Fair to make sure that you can still stabilize in the main deck, and also if you need to sacrifice to get a specific artifact out, it's not really going to do too much, mostly because we don't really have any major artifacts in the main deck, but it is an option for you if you need to pull something out in a pinch, and I'll explain what you might want to dig for in a moment. Otherwise, just add in maybe some more pathway lands. If you have more Inspiring Advantage, by all means do so. I actually don't have the whole set, so that's why I'm working with only 2 here. But otherwise, that's basically going to be it for the land package. In the main deck itself, the other major changes we're going to have is we're going to add in Hope of Girpur. So that means we're going to move the Reckless Fireweavers out to the sideboard for the best of 3 options. This is actually pretty solid because also it is a Thopter, but also the major reason is if we could do that combat damage to our opponent, we could sacrifice if we need to protect our board from any non-creature spells for a turn and ensure we still have enough time to get to our victory. Otherwise, that's mostly it for the main deck itself. Not really anything else you need to change, but the sideboard, of course, will have a couple of major advantages. So instead, we're going to be adding in copies of Authority of the Consuls. This helps us slow down our enemy aggro decks out there to give us more time to dig for what we need, and also to give us some more life gain. You're going to keep, of course, your Michigo's Reign of Truth. It's a solid card. Keep those. Keep, of course, your Rip Aparts. That's also going to be really good for you as well as and also, of course, keep the glass caskets. So these are basically going to be the things you definitely want to have in there. But the only major upgrade otherwise in the sideboard is you're going to want to have copies of Unlicensed Hearse as our graveyard hate, because this also gives us a really powerful option to, of course, give us some late game push if we need to either get rid of cards and have something really big and really powerful to stop our opponent if we actually have to. But otherwise, my only other thing I just want to say to wrap this up is my final thoughts are, I actually had a lot of fun also with this deck. The exiling effect is definitely something unique that we don't see too often on cards to make a strategy out of, at least in, well, the Explorer format versus, say, Historic, but that's a whole nother story. But otherwise, I don't know about you, but this was definitely a fun and different twist on utilizing the Boros artifact aggro kind of game plan. It allows us to do something that's very different in the format, and I have a lot of fun with it. And I'm sure if you, of course, take this deck in there, you will definitely have a lot of fun too. So if you are a fan of unique strategies, if you are a fan of, say, burn decks like I am, but maybe again you want to look at a fun little twist on how you can pull off that victory and sometimes just do massive damage when your opponent least expects it, I would definitely say give this deck a try. And I assure you, when you fly in with your little Thopter army to smash your opponent down and then burn them out by scrapping them into doing some massive damage to their face, you will definitely not be disappointed. That's all I have for you today. Thanks again for watching, everyone, and just remember that no matter what you do play in the game of life, always be sure to burn bright. Later!